Man, this whole time, bro, they made us think Africa was such a poor country, bro. Such a place you wouldn't want to be at, bro. And speed is single-handedly changing my perspective on life. Like the music in Africa, the culture, everything, every single aspect of Africa just makes my insides feel so good, bro. And it makes me just want to leave America. Bro, I feel like America is the trap. America is the trap. The American dream is the trap. Everybody else is free, but not free from America. America's the problem, bro. America's the problem. And I'm ready to get out of here. Like, Speed, thank you, bro. Thank you.
For decades, a deeply flawed narrative has shaped how many Americans and people around the world perceive Africa. To some, Africa is imagined as a single poor country, an endless stretch of huts, mosquitoes, dry land, and people struggling endlessly for water. It is a picture frozen in time, reinforced by outdated documentaries, selective news coverage, and years of one-sided storytelling. So it comes as no surprise that when iShowSpeed, a famous American streamer, recently began touring Africa, the reactions from many Americans ranged from disbelief to shock. What they saw did not match what they had been told. They discovered that Africa is not a country, but a vast and diverse continent made up of different nations, each with its own culture, economy, cities, languages, and identity. They saw modern highways filled with luxury and electric cars. They saw skyscrapers, clean running water, vibrant nightlife, advanced technology, and cities buzzing with energy and ambition. And for many watching online, it felt like a revelation. Suddenly, the propaganda cracked.
Hey yo, I know I talk big shit about Africa, B, but after watching this iShowSpeed stream in Africa, South Africa, and Johannesburg and all over, like, yo, I'm coming. I'm coming. Yo, listen, everybody who I offended, all those Africans down there in South Africa and blah, 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 Burkina Faso and all, yo, my bad. Yo, call me Kunta Kinte, because I'm on my motherfucking way. I'll see y'all in a minute. Speed's showing me the real side of Africa right now. Like, yo, like, man, you got some places out there that are just, it just scream home to your soul. Good looking, Speed. Call me Kunta. I'm coming home.
Y'all probably wondering why I'm crying. I've been watching Speed streams, and I'm seeing all the love that he's getting in Angola. He's in South Africa, and he's getting massive amount of love. And the way that he was treated in Europe was disgusting. But to see him be a black man from the United States of African descent and be able to go back to the continent and be treated like a human by civilized African people, when we've been taught that Africa is primitive, that it's dangerous, don't go back, they have this, they have that, they don't want you, they don't like you. And to see an African American man with his stature go back to the motherland and be treated with so much respect. This is what our people fought for. This is what they fought for when they fought against Jim Crow and segregation. This is what the slave revolts were about. This is what it's always been about. It's to be able to go back home to a home that you've never been and be unapologetically black and not have to think about being black. Just being able to have your natural hair and your brown skin and not be judged and not be racially profiled and not be killed. I love the love that he is getting. And I love the love that all of my African American people are getting in the continent. And I know there's a lot of issues I know there's a lot of things that need to be worked out. But I'm so proud. I'm so proud. And I love that for him, and I love that for all of my people that are over there. And I can't wait to hit the soil and experience it myself.
The love is really in Africa, bro. It's really love here, bro. Bro, I haven't been nowhere where I thought like, oh no, I don't belong here.
Africa, long misrepresented as helpless and broken, revealed itself as alive, complex, and breathtakingly beautiful. Truth is simple yet powerful. Africa is one of the most blessed continents on Earth. It is rich not only in natural resources, gold, oil, gas, cobalt, diamonds, fertile land, but also in culture, creativity, resilience, and human warmth. Africa has some of the youngest populations in the world, some of the fastest growing cities, and some of the most dynamic cultural expressions on the planet. Yet for years, the dominant global narrative has painted Africa as poor, dirty, unsafe, and incapable. This narrative did not happen by accident. It was shaped by colonial history, economic interests, and a global media system that often highlights tragedy while ignoring progress.
The propaganda against Africa stops today. The tide is shifting and the energy is moving towards the motherland once again. The motherland will no longer be disrespected. I urge all of us to go there and visit and see what's really going on for ourselves. I was already planning to take a trip to Africa months ago, and I can't wait because I'm really going for an extended period of time, to the point where I'm gonna have to pack up a lot of the things that I work for in my home. But it's because I want to give Africa the time and attention that it deserves. We come from Africa, but then we hate on Africa as a travel destination, right? Humanity began in Africa, but now all of a sudden humanity doesn't want to visit Africa. So when I see IShowSpeed going there, I see streamers going there, I see that the energy is shifting over there as it should, it makes me happy because it's like what I knew in my heart was right. We have to go and visit that place, man. That's where everything started from. And my background is Jamaican, and I listen to like Rastafarian music. And in a lot of the Rasta music, they talk so much about the motherland and moving back to Africa and visiting Africa and getting in touch with our roots. And I think that it's time that the propaganda ends. It's time for us to stop thinking that America is just the only country in the world or the best country in the world. It's not about who's the best. It's not about not about none of that. It's just about experiencing something for yourself and seeing something new, getting a brand new experience and being in touch with what's going on in your roots, man. So shout out to IShowSpeed for traveling around the world and exposing what's really going on in Africa. It's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful place, beautiful energy, beautiful people. And I can't wait to visit one day.
Images of conflict and poverty became the default story, while innovation, development, and success stories were quietly overlooked. As a result, many people in America grew up believing that Africans still live in jungles, hunt with spears, and lack basic amenities. That belief, repeated long enough, hardened into truth for those who had never set foot on the continent. This is why moments like this, when popular American streamer IShowSpeed touring Africa, matters far beyond entertainment. When millions of young people watch someone they trust walk through African cities, laughing with locals, eating street food, experiencing culture, seeing infrastructure, it challenges everything they thought they knew. It humanizes Africa, it modernizes Africa, and most importantly, it returns Africa's story to reality. Viewers see bustling streets filled with creativity and commerce. They see African youth who are confident, stylish, tech-savvy, and globally aware. They see clean neighborhoods, organized markets, working systems, and communities full of life. They see joy, they see pride, they see dignity. And perhaps for the first time, they ask themselves a dangerous question. What else have we been wrong about?
And I personally believe that what Speedy's doing right now, without even realizing it, is he's literally waking up the masses. He's waking up the masses from all the propaganda and the lies that the media has fed America, Black Americans, about Africans and Africa. You know, he might not even know it or be aware of it, but he is literally healing generations right now. It might be an innocent thing and look like it's streaming, but a lot of Americans are waking up and realizing they were fed lies. And everything that they learned and were taught about Africa.
Speed's Africa tour is kind of scaring me right now because the amount of people admitting that they didn't realize that Africa wasn't just like sticks and mud. That, like, Africa actually has, modern technology and roads and running water and all that type of stuff. Then that Africa is a continent, not a country. I've seen clips of Speed's tour and I love it because every place he goes, he kind of rewrites the stereotype or the image that people have in their head, and he shows that, hey, this is a normal place. But especially with Africa, some of y'all I genuinely worry about, because even when people who are like, oh, but the American propaganda makes you think that Africa is just nothing and extremely all this. Guys, can you do a little bit of research or maybe just a little bit of logical thinking? Do you really think an entire continent will just be sticks and mud and tribal people? If you just look up Africa City, you will see so many cities that look just like ours, with skyscrapers, big buildings, roads, infrastructure, all that type of stuff.
If you watch Speed go to Africa and your biggest takeaway was that, oh my God, it's not just huts and mud, that's not awareness, buddy. That is straight ignorance. That image of Africa, it didn't come from nowhere. It came from what you were taught, what you never questioned, and what you were always comfortable believing. Shame on you, bro.
I Show Speed's Africa streams are doing multiple generational undamaging to your brain, because y'all really thought that Africa was a bunch of twigs and huts. There isn't a representative from every single country that wants something out of this continent. Now, granted, some of the comments are people trying to be funny, but I can tell some of these are 100%. No, you really thought that. Y'all really thought Africa was in the arms of the air. You really thought that was that? You thought it was Africa. Do you know how wealthy Africa is? Do you know how large Africa is? I'm telling you, he is undoing the damage of multiple decades. And I, for one, can't not commend him for doing that, because wow. In the future, we are going to have multiple generations of people who are more conscious about how things happen over in Africa. And it is going to be because they saw what it looks like on I Show Speed stream. W Speed. Oh, and Grown Man, by the way. Yeah, I promise, Grown Man, watch this. Tax exemption.
Africa's beauty is not just physical, it is deeply human. Africans are among the most welcoming and respectful people in the world. Hospitality is not a trend here, it is a cultural value. Visitors are often surprised by the warmth they receive from strangers, the sense of community, and the respect embedded in everyday interactions. Then there is the food, rich, flavorful, diverse, and deeply tied to history. From spicy stews to grilled delicacies, from street snacks to ceremonial dishes, African cuisine tells stories of land, family, and identity. Music, dance, fashion, and language flow naturally from the soul of the people, creating cultures that continue to influence the world, from global pop music to fashion runways. What many fail to realize is that Africa has always contributed to global civilization. Long before modern Europe, African kingdoms thrived with advanced systems of governance, trade, architecture, and education. Cities like Timbuktu were once centers of global learning. Trade routes connected Africa to Asia, the Middle East, and Europe centuries ago. Africa was never backward, it was interrupted. Africa continues to rise. Today, African cities like Lagos, Nairobi, Accra, Rwanda, Johannesburg, and Cairo are redefining innovation, entrepreneurship, entertainment, and culture. African creatives dominate global music charts. African tech startups attract international investment. African fashion, film, and art influence global trends. Yet the old stereotypes persist, especially among those who have never experienced the continent firsthand. So the question remains, is this ignorance? Perhaps, but it is also a consequence of limited exposure, selective storytelling, and a global system that has not always been fair in how Africa is portrayed. The good news is ignorance can be corrected. All it takes is visibility, honesty, and open-mindedness. When people see Africa through real experiences, not filters of pity or prejudice, they begin to understand that Africa is not waiting to be saved. Africa is building, creating, and leading in its own way. Moments like this African tour remind the world that Africa doesn't need validation, but representation matters. When the story changes, perception changes. When perception changes, respect follows. And for Africans watching, these moments also spark pride. Pride in identity, pride in culture, pride in home. They remind Africans that their continent is not defined by how others describe it, but by how they live, grow, and shape their future.
I knew Africa had a bad PR, but I had no idea how bad it was until I started watching the reactions to the famous American streamer iShowSpeed's tour in Africa. And here is my take as an African living in Japan. So many people are shocked that Africa doesn't look like huts and poverty everywhere, and honestly, I'm more shocked that you're shocked. My flabbergasted. First of all, I would like to use this as a reminder that Africa as a continent is huge, and you can fit 3 United States in there. 3 of them. The other fact is that Africa is one of the fastest urbanizing continents in the world, and nearly 45% of the population live in urban areas. That's almost half of the continent living in urban areas. And this is urbanization defined by the United Nations, the World Bank, and all of these. Urbanization means cities and towns, not huts. And most of the cities where the majority of the population live in are capitals. And these were the center of activities in the previous empires. And then they became the center of slave trade, and also further in the colonial era became the center where natural resources were exported from. So of course, roads and networks were built around there, and the current modernization actually continued from those points. From a development point of view, you can see how this created a disparity between people living in the rural area and urban area. That's a whole other discussion, but it doesn't mean that the remaining population live in huts. To be frank with you, I'll tell the truth. I myself fell for that bad PR, to the level that when I was hearing stories from my grandfather's point of view, he was a son of a big chief of a clan in a certain village, I was fantasizing about going to visit these places with huts and people dancing around with funny raffia clothing. Tell me why when I was 18, I took all my savings and went to all these villages to visit. I saw this instead. Bruh. And yes, I was disappointed. I was like, where are the animals at? Where are the huts at? Where are the people dancing at? So yeah, as an African, surprise, surprise, I also want to go visit the Masai Mara. I want to visit all the remote villages as well, where people live in huts and brown animals and have fruits for free. But there are just not that many of them anymore. Now that I live in Japan, when I go to the countryside, I feel like it's very similar to where I grew up in Congo, you know, the countryside of Congo. And I'm like, the only difference, the people are the same, the heart is almost the same. Maybe we speak different languages, but the infrastructure and, I don't know, access to electricity and water is there in both places. But in one, it's inconsistent, it's unreliable, there's a disparity, but don't let people fool you about what Africa as a continent is like in real life.
Africa is not a monolith. It is not poor. It is not backward. It is not a jungle. Africa is complex, modern, ancient, futuristic, loud, soft, chaotic, organized, spiritual, innovative, and deeply human, all at once. So what do you think? Do all Americans still believe Africans live with spears and mosquitoes? Or is the world finally beginning to see Africa for what it truly is? And if you've visited Africa or dream of visiting, which country stands out to you the most? For me, it's Lagos, Nigeria, a city of unstoppable energy, creativity, and ambition. A place that perfectly captures Africa's past, present, and future in one powerful rhythm. Let me know your thoughts. Africa's story is still being written, and this time, the world is finally paying attention. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you never miss updates on Nigeria, Africa, and major developments across the continent.